Over here and tell these children it's very possible. Meghan Markle's former husband, movie producer Trevor Engelson, broke up with her in August 2013 after 9 years of being together, 2 of which were they married. By now, you'd think we've heard all about Meghan. The Hollywood climb, the royal scandal, the endless PR spin. But every once in a while, the past has a way of crawling back out of shadows. And this time, it's not a palace insider or close friend, or even her half-sister Samantha throwing shade. No, the bombshell is directly from a man who used to know her better than anyone, her former husband, Hollywood producer Trevor Engelson. And the secrets he's revealing are the kind Meghan might have wanted left buried forever. Meghan has always guarded her public persona carefully. Since the day she arrived in Hollywood, she was building her story. The underdog, the diligent actress, the woman who succeeded against all odds. Yet, Trevor says the woman he married in 2011 was not the self-made, down-to-earth woman she presents today. He describes a very different portrait, of ambition so keen it could slice glass, and of a personality that changed according to who was present in the room. It wasn't a fairy tale romance that they shared. They had been dating for 7 years before they got married, an extended test drive before I do. Friends say Trevor was utterly charmed by Meghan's vivaciousness, but in private there were red flags. Trevor asserts Meghan was good at keeping score. All favors, gestures, and concessions were recorded and stored away to be used as ammunition later. To him, it wasn't a marriage of equals but a contract, one in which her career was always a priority. When she got her big break on Suits, it seemed like a blessing, but marked the start of the end for Trevor. Meghan was soon spending more time working in Toronto than with her husband in Los Angeles, and Trevor says she started to check out emotionally. Enveloped in her new life, new friends, and possibilities, she became estranged, and when she finally wrote off the marriage, there was no tearful discussion or closure. Trevor says she sent back her wedding rings in an envelope. No goodbye, no explanation. Brutal doesn't even start to describe it. This shatters Meghan's tightly managed image of being the avenging outsider. Trevor's version portrays her as ruthless and businesslike, ready to sever connections as soon as they were no longer useful to her. Insiders report Trevor remained quiet for so many years because he was taken by surprise and humiliated. Hollywood's a tight community, and Meghan was busy remaking herself as the activist actress. To speak out would have made him appear bitter, so he remained silent, remarried, and moved on. Years later, he's finally telling his story, and the Meghan he portrays isn't the glamorous Duchess gracing the covers of magazines, but a woman with a laser-like commitment to social climbing, one who knew precisely which ladders to ascend and whose feet to tread upon. Trevor's Exposed also uncovers Meghan's ghosting habit. As soon as she hooked up with Prince Harry, she shed not only Trevor but also most of her old friends, colleagues, and confidants. He claims Meghan was always calculating. If someone could further her profile, they were in, otherwise they were out. When the royal option presented itself, she shut the door on her past full stop. And then there is her family. Meghan has attributed her bitter relationship with her father, Thomas Markle Sr., and half-siblings to their toxic actions for years. But Trevor implies she was keeping them at arm's length well before the feuds, frequently framing herself as the exception in a family that didn't meet her standards. In his opinion, she wasn't being pushed away. She put herself above them. The same with him. After he no longer played a part in her script, he was discarded like an old script. Cold, efficient, definitive, that is how Trevor characterizes her. His friends indicate that while they were married, Meghan even had a vision board, a map of her dreams. Marry a Hollywood producer, check. Get a breakout role, check. Schmooze with powerful friends, check. At the top, in bold letters, was one objective she kept repeating. Be iconic. Trevor confesses that he once dismissed it, thinking it was Meghan being wishful, but now understands differently. It wasn't about constructing a marriage or a home. It was constructing Meghan Incorporated. And when the brand no longer required Trevor Engelson, he was history. Since then, she scarcely recognized him, passing over her first marriage in interviews with dismissiveness, as though it were merely a flyby on her journey to greatness. Trevor's account makes it evident that their marriage was not an afterthought. It was the bedrock of Meghan's early life. He stood by her during her struggles, paid for her auditions, and guided her through the Hollywood maze. But once she experienced success, she rewritten the narrative, leaving him out. Typical Meghan. Emphasize the glamorous bits, buff them up with glare, and dig them up. But as Trevor is now demonstrating, the past does not remain buried forever. His subtle revelations pierce the well-crafted facade Meghan went to so much trouble to create. And if you ever thought her royal departure was dramatic, her first marriage was a harbinger of all the chaos that ensued. Trevor was no fly-on-the-wall Hollywood extra. He was a veteran producer who had made his mark in the business. He had the access, the admiration, and for a while, he had Meghan. They took high-end getaways to Greece and Mexico and rubbed shoulders with the rich and famous. But fissures emerged. Those who knew them suggest that Meghan was often like two different women, sweet and demure in private, but growing more ambitious in public. Once she experienced fame, sources say she began treating Trevor as a stepping stone, not a partner. Sources have said Meghan treated Trevor more like an accessory than a husband. Her friends saw how she demanded he be at her beck and call, traveling across the country for red carpet appearances or footing the bill for luxuries that maintained her image. Trevor wasn't complaining about being generous, but he wasn't blind either. He knew when a person loved him and when they loved the lifestyle. Behind closed doors, Meghan supposedly made it clear she desired more than he could provide. Trevor wasn't suffering, but well enough wasn't sufficient for Meghan. She desired the crown jewels of Hollywood. Fame, notoriety, and power, and anyone who couldn't provide that was left behind. Then came the divorce bombshell. The way Meghan ended it was cold and abrupt. No counseling, no heart-to-hearts. According to reports, she literally mailed Trevor her wedding ring back, as if returning an unwanted package. Trevor knew their relationship was strained, especially with her growing success on Suits, but he never expected her to discard him so casually. Friends say he was devastated and humiliated. He had given her everything, only to be discarded like an old script. Years later, Trevor remained quiet, constructing an unobtrusive existence out of the limelight. But today, rumor hints he's sharing a few truths, ones not flattering to Meghan. Insiders say he's made veiled references to her strategic approach to building relationships, being affectionate only when it furthered her goals. That's not love. It's networking masquerading as romance. And if Trevor's experience is any guide, Meghan had mastered that technique well before encountering Prince Harry. Even before joining the royal family, Meghan was rehearsing her fairy tale. Trevor reportedly noticed how she would tweak her stories, emphasize certain details, and gloss over others, like she was scripting her own legend. It's a pattern we've seen repeated. The underdog narrative, the polished image, the carefully staged vulnerability. The facts themselves, her sudden cold divorce, her relentless ambition, her habit of rewriting the past, say more than any accusation could. Trevor's tale is reflective of what many later saw in her royal chapter. Meet someone settled, benefit from a relationship, and leave them once she feels she surpassed them. She was first enamored of privilege and status. Then she portrayed herself as a victim of the same system that she pursued. The trend is unmistakable. The most tragic aspect is that Trevor could have been her best shot at actual love. He knew her world. He stood by her ambitions. And he actually loved her. But Meghan didn't look for love. She looked for a stage. And Trevor, successful as he was too small of a stage for production she had in mind playing in. That's what makes his soft declaration so potent. He lived the narrative long, before anyone else in the world did. So now the question is, why come out now? Others say it's timing. Meghan's brand is tanking, her projects failing, and her image shattering. Perhaps Trevor feels justified, or perhaps he just wants to be truthful. Whatever the case, one thing is for sure. Trevor's tale is important. Because if her behavior towards him is just one small part of a bigger trend, then the poor me narrative collapses quickly. Where you expect a victim, you have a woman full of ambition, planning, and willingness to discard people along the way for the next set of circumstances. And sometimes the past tells you everything you need to know about the present.